How are you doing this morning?
Doing well.
Pretty good.
Good morning.
Doing great.
How's the weather up north? Has it gotten bad?
It's a little snowy up here. Yeah, there's expected snow in the forecast here this afternoon, so we'll see how that plays out. It's supposed to start maybe in an hour. We'll see.
Is it still going to be a northeaster or whatever they could call that?
Yes.
They're definitely saying that. Already started snowing in the city, but it seems like parts of New Jersey and the city are going to get it pretty hard. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
It can just go by Philly. We'll be good without it.
There, right, Lisa? Yeah.
I'll be good without it too.
Just keep going.
At me, yeah.
Just skip over us.
Yeah, so you guys have to deal with that a lot. In North Carolina, it like shuts down things because people freak out. But I was telling Tony Bisbiglia yesterday on a one-on-one, it's a good day when I don't have to deal with weather and when I don't have a COVID positive to report. I mean, we have so many extra things, and this is my fourth season, but my first season was tough because I was new, but I would take that any day because we didn't have any of this stuff.
Brian, that's so funny because this is my fourth season too. So my first season was like your first season, like the quote unquote normal season, and it hasn't been quote unquote normal since. That's funny.
All right. Well, Derek, you want to kick off?
Yeah, we'll kick off. So first of all, guys, good morning, welcome. So Brian and I are hosting today's peer support call, and we thought what would be super helpful is to spend some time going through different reporting in the hub. I don't know about you guys, but the hub sometimes is a mystery, and sometimes when you're trying to figure out where do I get metrics for this, that, or the other thing, you're always kind of through trial and error exploring the hub. So, I think we all can agree we have more reporting than we have hours in the day to look at. So what Brian and I kind of divided and conquered on here was we wanted to share with you some reporting that we like to look at pretty consistently and that we find most valuable as we're kind of forecasting and planning our business, supporting our teams, helping us decide where we're going to visit offices, helping us prioritize and plan tactically, of course. And then, of course, we want to open it up for you guys to ask questions for maybe there are certain metrics or is there a report available for XYZ? And then Brian and I can hopefully help answer those. And if we don't know that report or don't have it, we'll see what we can maybe do to find that. So
yeah, somebody on the call might know.
Correct. Or somebody else on the call. Again, that's why it's a peer support call. So Brian, I'll watch chat here for the round while you share your screen, but Brian's going to take us through just the ComBoard report. I know that's one we're probably the most familiar with and our leaders are familiar with, but we want to show you there's a couple of other links that'll get you to small business, allow you to see client pipeline. And then what was it, 2 or 3 weeks ago, when John O'Connell and I hosted this first one, we had created for you guys this KPI locator guide to help your leaders go through Tactical Tuesday. Well, in case you didn't know, we provided feedback that spending all this time clicking through reporting isn't probably the best use of our leaders' time. So there is now a one-stop shop for everything for Tactical Tuesday for your leaders. And so Brian's going to show that to you. So Brian, I'll let you take that away and I'll watch chat in case questions come in this way.
All right. And just as Derek said too, I mean, we're going to cover some reports, but if there are other reports that you would like to see, you're welcome to email us. Like you said, if we don't know how to get to it, we'll find out, because this is the market's call for sure. And so let's first talk about some things that have been the ComBoard. And I know everybody's very familiar with the, and let's hope and pray that my DSA update's good. So whoops.
Oh yeah, in case no one's noticed, this morning it hasn't updated with any of our numbers from yesterday. Yeah. So, but
that's
I still got it to load.
Yeah. So I'm not going to go in and generate the COM board because, I definitely know how to do that. We wanted to talk about a couple of things, the office detail and the small business COM board here. So when you go into Derek, did we start recording on this?
It is recording, yep.
Just for making sure. When you go into this one, I like this one a lot because I know we can get the client pipeline on our growth report, but I like to be able to take it down to office level and really ensure my leaders are looking ahead on what their goals are for the day. I try to keep it at today plus 4 with, hey, we want the clients today, but here's what's coming up. And you can actually go in, run that report. You can, generate it to Excel. And you have to clean it up a little bit to make it very easily read. But I like it. I like to put in goal, appointments confirmed is a quick way. I hate to even show mine. Well, we weren't too bad on the day there with only 7 not confirmed, but it's a really cool way to help our leaders and get that out and keep it top of mind for them. So that's another place that you can pull that information. The other thing I really love within this is the SOP performance office detail as well. If you haven't seen this is another quick thing you can look at for your district by office and share with your team. So what I like about this one is, we can filter it. What I like about this one is, how it ranks on the board, who's number 1 in growth. So we could rank that real quick, and you can quickly see, who your top growth office is, 1 through 24 for me. And, some of the key things, their scheduling, WIP hasn't updated on this, but you can go in and look at virtual. So I like this because it's a one-stop, real quick area for us to see this. And I know my team, they like this when I can get this out to them. I know they can pull a lot of this stuff, but there's some things we can pull quickly and share with them. So that's a couple of things within communication board. The other thing we're going to talk about is small business. So you should have gotten an email from Bob. He sent out for us to get these laminated so we could put them beside our communication board with some of the key things with our number 1 imperative, driving small business. So if you go into, let's go back to COM board. Let's just go back here. I think I could have done it at the bottom.
Pulling that up, Brian, I love what you shared with us there, because before I knew about those links, I was trying to find my SOP performance by office through some different reports. Or I was like, do I have to go through and individually click through each office to kind of see their COM board? But what I love is that one-stop shop. So then I can look at the pipeline and say, okay, which of my offices are forecasted to hit their goal today because they have enough confirmed appointments on the books. And then you get to see a couple days out as well. So if I'm looking down the pipeline and I'm like, they don't have enough appointments right now, or they haven't confirmed enough, I can then spend time with that leader to help them, talk about some fill the funnel tactics. What kind of holds are there that we could clear and get, follow-up appointments booked? Where are we at with calling campaigns and filling the funnel with getting appointments, moving appointments up? So I love that you shared that with us.
And the other great thing will be is, again, we're sharing a couple things we know about. I guarantee you people are on the line are like, oh, I know another place or another report. Please share those. Sometimes we think that, oh, it's not a big thing, and so we don't share it. But I tell you, it's the small shares that mean the most to me, for sure. If you go into COM board SMB, here, the laminate that Bob sent out that we need to get for our teams, you can get all that information in this small business if it works. Let's see. Come on, little hamster, get running. If I can't get it to load, just know that's where it is. And maybe Derek, you're having better success on your end. So if you are able to get it to load, let me know.
let me check. I'll see if I can get the small business com board up. I do know I was on a call with the small business team yesterday. They are looking to see if there's been no guarantees, but they are looking to see that this com board report for small business will hopefully, we're trying to get it to mirror what is being put on the laminated sheet. Because right now, if you've seen it, it doesn't, it's not going to look exactly like your laminated sheet, but
yeah, because it's the laminated sheet. I'm having trouble getting that to load.
Yep, let me see if I can get it to come up. Yep, it's coming up on my end. I'll share my screen here so folks can see it. Give me 1 second. All right.
So Brian, we just got an email from Michelle saying that the small business team might want to adjust what we're going to post, and so to hold off on posting these as of yet. So I don't know if you just saw that email come through, but
we didn't. Thanks, Margaret. You hear it live here first, folks.
Late breaking, literally that was, she said,
Yeah.
late breaking news. So I'd love to spend, I mean, I went and looked at that new report for Tactical Tuesday. I think that's going to be so helpful for my team.
Yes.
So that target monitoring, is that what it's called?
Yep. And we're going to show that. We'll show that to you guys here in a minute. But yeah, that target monitoring one's going to be life-changing. By the way, I did have a visit with Carice this week, and it was on a Tuesday. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but it seems like when everyone and their mom is on the hub on Tuesday trying to do their Tactical Tuesday, we can never get it to load. So we did share that feedback, and it is being addressed to see what we can do to increase bandwidth, because it's like a freeway, right? If everybody is on it, then we have a traffic jam and it's difficult to get into the hub. So kind of notice that as a repeated pattern. But this is what the small business com board looks like. So when you go to com board, you click on the small business link, this is what's going to come up, and you can filter it by an office. And this is what your office leaders should be printing and posting as of right now. Until we obviously have the new edition, ComBoard edition for small biz. What I really love about this report is it shows you a few different things. One, it's going to show you small business returns, and you can set the hierarchy to Tax Pro, so you can see in your office by Tax Pro how many small business returns the office has done. And you can also use your filters here to look at, total clients, new clients, etc. So there's some filters here that you can use to play around if you want. But for the most part, set it to tax post revenue and total client. But if you look at this, like I can see in this particular office I have, you can see, at this point last year I had done 4 small business returns, and this office has done 4 small business returns at this point. So I'm flat to my small business performance. From a revenue perspective, I can see that as of last year, I was at $2,091 in small biz. For this office, this year it's only $1,892. I can see who those tax pros are, so I can celebrate them, spend some time with them. But what I love is this shows me also how many small business send-a-friend redemptions this office has had, which they've had 0. But as time goes on and we start getting some of those redemptions from some small business clients we've served, and they've sent out the coupon and we're redeeming them, you're going to see them here. And then this is where you can see products. So you're going to be able to see business tax audit support, and you're going to be able to see the quarterly tax payment service and how many of those have been added on. So one thing I shared with this office leader for an example was, hey, you've done a great job already, comping your small business performance to last year. However, you have driven a little less in revenue. Let's talk about what are some things that we could do to drive that revenue. And part of that is the products, right? So I can see here that we haven't attached any products. So it's a good conversation to have with the office leader to say, hey, what is my tax pro's comfort level with those small business products? Do they know about it? Are they offering it, bringing it into the conversation? And do they know the revenue potential that can be produced for them just by attaching those products? And you'll be able to see that performance here. So this is a really valuable report as we lead to our number one imperative.
Yeah. And there was a question in about where do we get our small business goal, and it's like last year plus like 8 or something per office. Is that right?
So I was on the small business call I was on this week. I did bubble that information up. Your regional director does have your small business targets. So that information has been shared with them, so they can get that to you if you ask them for what your small business targets are for this season. But I am also being told that we're working to get that added to this ComBoard report, because that way it's on there. I did bubble that up to make sure that the target was present, but I do know that the RDs have them.
Cool. And so any tips, anything to share or questions before we move on to target monitoring?
I will tell you, just as a fun fact for your your office leaders, I've noticed sometimes they have difficulty printing these reports, the ComBoard or whatever. They print it and then it's like prints over like 8 pages when they print it. Just a little tidbit you can share with them is if they click the ... in the corner and then download it as a PDF and then print it, and in the printer settings they can fit to 1 page, that entire report will fit on 1 page for them to print out and post in the back. So just wanted to share that with you, because sometimes I've walked into an office and I see them like tape 4 pages like all up on the wall because they weren't sure how to print this to get it out, and that's how they can get it printed onto 1 page to make it easy for them.
That's a good call out for sure. So I know Derek has some reports to cover, so I'll get through this pretty quick. But the target monitoring, if you haven't seen that, there's so many reports. Sometimes they get lost in there, but this one really is a good one. And I went ahead and generated it because I wanted to make sure my DSA would work with me. But you can just pop in your district name, and our leaders are going to be able to look at it by office. So on their tactical Tuesdays, they can see how they were doing. Lots of red here in the past 7 days or tax season to date, and it quickly breaks down for them where the gap is. The other thing I love about this too is it gives the new and prior client gap. So in this case, it's pretty much dead even. But if you saw a big increase in one over the other, it really calls out an area we want to work in more. This office, they got a little bit of both. Also gives you, some information about small business on here, your revenue, the terms of a virtual component. That one's an interesting one. I kind of like a % on there, but so your service quality's on there, and it gives you the productivity as well with returns per hour. So it's really a quick look at the business with breaking it down, with the prior 7 days. Like Derek was saying earlier, we don't have to go in and generate it by 7 days and then generate it by tax season. We can really see it on 1 report. So this is definitely one to share with our office leaders, as many of them may not have seen this yet. Because at the end of the day, of course, we want this, to be quicker for them, have more time leading. And I did want to share one conversation I had with my MDM earlier, Tim, and we were talking about the ComBoard, and that we're maybe making it harder than it needs to be. And sometimes as an office leader, we're putting our plan on the wall by individual. And one thing I'm going to challenge my team on is really the office leader getting with the team that's there. All right, team, we're short 3 returns today based on appointments. What's different for each of the SFPs, what they're going to be able to do and put their commitments, on the wall that are going to lead it. So then it's their plan as well, more so than just the leader. So I thought that was a cool way to look at things.
Yeah, I like that too, Brian. I think what I've really enjoyed about this target monitoring is, these are all the metrics that your office leader is being asked to find and fill out on their Tactical Tuesday sheet. So as long as you have them go into the hub and click target monitoring here and filter it to their office, they can literally just take this information and enter it right into the Excel spreadsheet. Instead of spending the 30, 45 minutes, it would have taken your office leader to hunt through several reports and go through different hyperlinks and refilter to get what they needed. Now they can just get this information, fill it out right onto the Excel spreadsheet. And now they're spending, instead of spending that 30, 45 minutes finding the information, they're now spending that 30, 45 minutes actually filling out the tactical piece to say, like, here's my plan for the next week, and here's who I need to talk to, and here's where I want to spend my time, and here's how I'm going to address these metrics, making, really allowing us to fulfill the purpose of what we wanted out of Tactical Tuesday. So I think somebody has their hands up.
It's
Margaret,
me.
go ahead.
My question is about if Brian will scroll down for a second, the guidance, service quality is 100 year to date and past 7 days, but the service quality versus guidance doesn't seem to, make sense.
It's not Java.
So I guess
found
my
that
leadership on that would be like, ignore and keep moving. But I hate saying that with reports. Like, I want it to be accurate. Do we know why this is showing a minus 265%?
I don't. I've made a note of it. We'll see if we can get someone to look at it. I know that this was put up pretty quickly, but it was based on overwhelming demand that, again, we wanted to spend less time looking for the information and more time planning with the information, right? So, but no, it's a good point. I would argue that if you have 100% surface quality as the goal, and that's where you're at, that you're doing well and you're not down almost 300%. So that's a fair call out. But I'll make a note of it and see if from a growth and imperative team we can take a look at that for sure.
Definitely a time saver for our Tactical Tuesdays, for sure, for our team.
Yeah, for sure.
All right,
It's
Derek.
great to see your note about virtual too, so I'll make a note about that one also. I know that not everything is updating this morning. I haven't been able to even see what I did yesterday, so there might be a little bit of noise for that, but we'll see if that's just something that's, if it's repeated issue or whatnot. We can see if we can bubble that up to somebody. So like it. Cool. All right, Brian, I'm gonna have you watch chat now as I'll share my screen and can't see the chat, but what I'm gonna spend some time with you guys talking about next is the client growth dashboard. This is the one, to be honest with you, I've probably spent the most time in. And the reason I have spent the most time in this one is, well, it's gonna help me know if I'm growing clients, right? So I can look at things like, hey, how did my offices do yesterday in terms of hitting their client growth goal? I can also see where am I trending tax season to date, if I wanted to look over the prior 7. And even though it does say hierarchy market, just so you know, when this data pulls up, it's actually just looking at your region. So you don't actually see market data. At our level, we can see how we're performing against other districts in our region, and then we can use the hierarchy to drill this down to go by office, which is what I do a lot of times to see how I'm trending. So anyways, as you pull this up, it's automatically going to show you tax season to date and where you're at with total clients. And even though it says market, it's actually showing you where you're looking at from a region perspective. But if I update the hierarchy here and I go, hey, I want to see the hierarchy level of district, I can actually run this and I can see, with the whatever determined time frame I want to look at, I can run this from from tax season to date, and I can see how I'm doing in my own, region, against my peers. So I can see here that our region right now is down 50.5% the guidance. And then when this updates if you update the hierarchy down here in the client growth, I can then filter this and I can see, for me, like DC Metro, I'm kind of middle of the pack right now as it pertains to guidance performance. Now, we should all be leading to guidance right now. Guidance is your target. If you follow guidance, you're going to hit your target. I know that for all of us kind of looking at our guidances right now, there's a lot of noise around that. So one thing I do just kind of pivot back and forth to look at, just to kind of check, is you can change your filter up here from guidance and also look at prior year results. So if you wanted to say, you know, how am I trending versus prior year, you know, guidance is, you know, I'm down, you know, in my district, I'm down, you know, 51% to guidance right now, tax season to date. But hey, I want to kind of look over and see, you know, just how I'm doing from a prior year perspective. I can switch this over to prior year. It's going a little slow at the moment, but it's going to show me also where we're at from a prior perspective. So notice the region I'm in is actually only down 24% to prior year. And if you look, my district is actually only down 4%. Now, these total client numbers have not updated today, so I'm pretty sure I am actually up prior year right now. But I look at that as just kind of a little measure, like 1 foot in the 1 foot kind of in what guidance is, because that's what we need to lead our teams to. That's what's going on the COM board report. But I also like to just, for my own pacing of, hey, how am I doing to prior year? Our regional director told us today on our huddle, the reason why the guidance goal is so much larger is, you know, typically in the month of January, we do about 7% of our total returns. Our target for January is to do 14%, which is why on average, right, if you're trending, that's why there's such a large gap right now. I think it's good to, I just share that because one, I know sometimes looking at the guidance number, it can feel a little disheartening sometimes, and that's just real world here on a peer support call between me and you. But take a look at your prior year and kind of look at both. But also, if you're trending for prior year but you're down for guidance, be real with yourself and your team to say, okay, when is that traffic eventually coming in, so you can plan for it. So I know that's not a hub discussion, but just something I'm sharing from personal experience. But again, I can change this hierarchy detail and I can look at details by office. So I can filter this to my district. This is what I personally like to use this one, you know, from a guidance. I do total clients for my district and I like to run this. So then I get each office and then I can do, you know, shout outs, celebrate offices that are up to guidance, look, you know, kind of, I rank it out to say, hey, who's performing the best? You know, like for me, I can see I've got a breadth of an office that's down just 0.3% all the way to an office down, you know, 93% right now. So I know that I have quite a, you know, a gap, and I can focus in on where to close that. And then I will tell you, I think Brian's share of the client, pipeline in the COM board, I think gets you way more tactical, but you do get a pipeline right here at the district level. So you're not gonna be able to break this one down by office, go use the client one in the COM board, but you can, at least for me here as a district manager, I can look at this and say, hey, today my guidance goal is gonna be to do 324 returns. I have 169 returns on the books, 142 are confirmed. So there's a little bit of a coaching opportunity for my team about confirming appointments. But I can look at this and say, hey, even if I serve all 169 people today, it's not enough to fill my guidance goal. I'm still going to be down 50%. So what kind of fill the funnel tactics can I do? So it lets me see it at a district level, and then to Brian's point earlier, go into the COM board and you can drill that pipeline down by office, so you can get really tactical with an office leader specifically. So that's what I wanted to share for client growth dashboard. Any questions? Anything in the chat, Brian?
Nothing so far.
Okay, cool. So that's what I use the client growth dashboard for personally, just to kind of trend, you know, how am I doing tax season to date? There is some filters to look at prior 7, and you can look at yesterday too. So if you want to see how you did yesterday to share that information with your team, you can do that there. Another report that you will find really, really valuable if you haven't had spent time in it yet is the lead measures report. Lead Measures is going to help you get tactical in specific SOPs, right? So your team is doing block beats. They're, each day they're prioritizing, what they want, what they should be doing, what they should be focusing on. And you have the ability through that Power BI report to check block beats and see, hey, are people recognizing the right things? This Lead Measures report allows you to kind of say, okay, is what my team is calling out makes sense based on metrics, right? Because what somebody might want to prioritize may not always pan out on what we're seeing metrics wise. So you can recalibrate with that office leader. But what I love about this is there's this one pager here that will tell you, that gives you each SOP, well, 4 out of the 5 right now. Inbound call quality is not on here. You'll need to go into Nexidia to kind of look at that. But what I would tell you is if you look, it gives you kind of a snapshot. So like here, what offices have scheduling gaps today in my district, an overall view. How many have gaps within the next 3 days? Who's got gaps in the next 7? I do not think this is updated because I definitely have scheduling gaps. I'm first to admit it. So don't think that's updated this morning, but it does tell you, offices that have conflicts today and over the next 6 days. So I have 29 offices. So all of my offices have conflicts that we need to look at. And it's showing me that all 29 of my offices have some unconfirmed appointments either today or over the next 3 days. So this shows me that from a snapshot. For service quality, it's going to show me, hey, how many of my offices have a new versus prior gap, right? So we look at intent to return of prior clients and we look at intent to return of new. So this will tell me how many of my offices have a gap larger than 10 points between what prior clients are saying and what new clients are saying. So maybe I want to spend a little bit of time there, right, to bridge the gap. Tax pros with new client service quality scores that are less than 75%. So I can then hone in on specific tax pros that maybe I want to spend time with. Tax pros with new clients that have less than 75% and have new client appointments. That's kind of a cool data point to look at. So I can say, hey, you know what? I have tax pros scheduled with new clients and they're have low intent to return scores with new clients already. So how do I course correct that to make sure that they nail the next experience, right? I can look at tax pros with all score that get the all deductions and credits questions. So I have 13 of those with have less than an 88%. So I could focus there. The tax pro cared about me. I have 9 tax pros that have a score less than 80% for that question. I have 7 offices with an average wait time of over 10 minutes. So I need to spend some time there. I think that's important, especially as we all deal with the elephant in the room of staffing challenges. And we have 2 offices with an average wait time of over 15 minutes. So again, I can hone in on there. Work in progress, it's going to show me offices with percent of WIPs with that are over the 48 hours above guidance. So I have 9 tax pros with that. One office with percent of starts for not likely to return and not required above guidance. So that means I've got some work to do there with my team consistently following up on those not likely to returns. 69% of my WIP is right now in missing documents. So I think that's a great fact to know is like, if it's missing docs, as we start to uncover and find that docs are becoming more and more available, helping to reduce that. I could see offices with my start check-in below guidance, offices with a percent of check-ins with no starts, a percent of WIP with signatures needed. So I already have almost 8% of my WIP is just, we need signatures, that's it. And then virtual, right? Our third imperative. This is a good one. I can see that 22.4% of my clients have a virtual component, knowing I need to get to 30. I have some work to do there. 64% of my of my TPRs have a work in progress that's past the SLA. So that's really important that I follow up in the work center space around TPR with my my Tax Pro reviews, right? Percent of my TPRs with a client action required. I can see that percent of Tax Pros with a 30% clients with a virtual component. I'm sorry, percent of TPs that have above 30%. So right now, just a little over a third of my Tax Pros are driving over 30% use of virtual tools. So about 2/3 of my team is not there yet. So I can spend some time looking at that. And then 46 of my Tax Pros are above that 30% clients with a virtual component. So that's just a snapshot view. Here's where it gets cool though. Each one of these words is a hyperlink that allows you to get tactical. So we only have so many hours in a day. There's only so many things you can focus on and spend on, right? So it would take you probably hours to sit here and comb through every single section. But maybe I said, hey, just like we ask our office leaders when we filled out the office visit form, like which one of these should we focus on today? I would use lead measures and hone in on something specific that you want to focus with the team on, right? So maybe it's scheduling. So I go into, the scheduling piece. Obviously, we've got peak coming up and you want to spend a little time there. I can go in here, set this to my district, use the hierarchy detail to set by office, and then I can refresh this and it's going to tell me each of my offices around schedule readiness. So I can see now, hey, how many unconfirmed appointments I have, how many conflicts does this office have today over the next 6? Where are there scheduling gaps, and what are the gaps over the next 7 days? So then I can tactically go in here, pick out maybe a few offices that I want to reach out to those leaders today and talk about tactics to address. Or I could go down here to schedule adherence. This is one I find fascinating. What was scheduled versus what was actually worked in those offices. I can see what, were there any hours that were clocked in but not scheduled? So I can go back and say, hey, like it looks like we've scheduled hours, but we're going over. Why is that? And I can address. I can see scheduled hours that weren't clocked in. I think this one's important because I know some of our leaders are used to managing to red, yellow, green, and maybe they don't want to hear from the DGM about scheduling capacity, so they write ghost schedules. Well, I can see here that, hey, you've scheduled hours, but there's people not actually clocking in and working those hours. So, were they sick? Were they out with COVID? Does the person have an emergency, or is the person gone and we haven't separated the person, but we're doing it to look good on a report, right? Which is more harm than good, and I'd rather just be honest and transparent with where I'm at, right? I could see where we've clocked in versus what's the not scheduled hours. So I can get real tactical here and see from a schedule readiness point, that first page gives me a kind of just a snapshot and allows me to say, hey, how much time should I spend here, right? Because again, there's only so much we all can do in a day to spend on certain things. And so I think that that can help you get a little more tactical and have some real specific conversations with the leader. If you go to service quality, now obviously you've got your client experience survey. We have Medallia, CES, that can help you get your service quality results to focus on with your team. But again, if you run this and use your district filter to put it to your district, and you sit here and you put it to your office hierarchy detail, this page is going to show you, again, by office, how many surveys has each office gotten? What's their likelihood to return? I can see each question, how they're being answered, the likelihood to recommend. And you can change the hierarchy detail, guys, to even be about Tax Pro. So if you want to get real specific and say, hey, I want to spend time, I'm spending time with my Lake Arbor office today. Let me go in here and filter this to the office Lake Arbor and to Tax Pro. I can look at every Tax Pro in the office, and your leaders can do this too. And then I can see current year data, and I can see how they did prior year. And then I can see the year-over-year change. So so I can see, has this office increased in getting surveys? That's been a challenge I've thrown out to my team is, let's get more surveys this year. So I can celebrate offices getting more surveys. And I can see if they are making positive movement year over year with each question. So I love that one for getting tactical in service quality. Work in progress, what you'll get from this one is, again, if I go up here and I'll just do it at the district level because that's what many of us are going to spend. I'm going to run it at district, but I'm going to put the hierarchy on office because that's how many of us are going to end up probably viewing this most of the time. What this work in progress lead measure report is going to show you is how many starts each office has had, or looking at your district. And I know it's still thinking and loading here, but it's going to show me how many returns I have on hold currently. And again, I can look at this by district or by office. It's going to show me, let me try refreshing it one more time. And if it doesn't work, I'll just share with us at the market level. But it's going to show me how many holds I have that are more than 48 hours old, right? Because we know that 48 hours is really that critical window for us to contact and have a plan with the client. So what percentage of those? There we go. What percentage? So this office has started 160 returns, 30 returns on hold. 20 of those returns are more than 48 hours old, which is 67% of my total holds. 25 of those holds are a client action, with 17 of those being over 48 hours old. 5 of them are tax pro action, with 3 of them being over 2 days old, right? I could see how many not likely to returns I already have. Percent of starts where the not likely to return are not required to file. So out of all my starts, 2% of them have become not likely to return. I can see my work in progress conversion all from here. And then this part down here is nice. It tells me my holds by type. So very quickly, I can look at each office and say, okay, why is stuff on hold? How many are missing documents? Signatures needed? What's pending payment? And again, you, as you're doing a specific office visit, or your office leader can change these details to go by tax pro and look at a specific office. So you can get real specific with somebody just by setting those parameters. And then this section's helpful, especially for me. I have 18 tax pro review tax pros this year, the most I've ever had. So I've got to watch this a little more carefully this year, but I can go in here and I can say, hey, you know, how many of my TPRs are client action? How many did we make not ready to file? What's in process requiring the tax pro to do? What's past the SLA so I can follow up? How many have been submitted for client approval, and how many have we gotten paid or completed? So you can see all of that from this this work in progress screen, which I think is super helpful. And then finally, which is probably my favorite one because I've been focusing on this one pretty heavily with my team, and I'm sure you are too, is the virtual. So the virtual one, this one is kind of my personal favorite. And why it's my favorite is if I filter this to my district, and then I can look at a specific office. It's been great for me to have conversations with my team, but I'll do it in an office view, but your office leaders can come in here and run it for their office and do a tax pro view so they can talk to specific tax pros about their virtual tools. But here's what I love about this. So I'm going to get this to refresh here. This section over here, I think, is such a neat bar graph because it shows me what tools my team is using. You know, we have 4 available tools. I want to know what are the tools that we're actually driving. So green is the approve online. So when I see these little green spikes, that lets me know, like on January 5th, I had a 45% use of virtual tools, and that was all with approve online that day, right? Obviously didn't do a lot of returns that day, but as I get a little closer over here, I can say, hey, and it actually tells you, like on January 23rd, my virtual tool usage was all in MyBlock, and it was a 31% use of MyBlock and uploading a document that day, right? And as I move further along, I'm starting to see other little peaks like, hey, on the 26th, 7% of my clients returns were completed with digital drop-off, 11% of them used Approve Online, and 24% of them used the MyBlock, right? So I don't see any video call lines on here yet. Well, there's one from the 22nd, but I can kind of look at that and kind of say, hey, it looks like my team is really embracing MyBlock and Approve Online. Digital drop-off and video call I'm not seeing as much of. That could be maybe a global conversation for me to have on a weekly, leadership meeting. Spend a little time on that, validating that in an office visit. This over here is just your running total. So I can see how I've been trending with virtual tools. And you can see I had nothing until the 5th. Then I jumped up, fell back down, and I got to 28 was my peak. And since then, I've been kind of plateauing in this high teens, low 20s. So that's where I've been kind of trending as of late with my virtual tools. So I know I can spend a little time here. And again, you can filter this specifically to an office and watch their trend or even a tax pro's trend. And then down here is where, in my view, the rubber meets the road. I can filter this to say, hey, I want to see % of clients with a virtual component for each office. So who's got the most? And I can scroll through and say, okay, these are my offices. I still have a handful of offices that haven't even used a virtual tool yet. So I need to spend some time with those offices and those office leaders to find out, hey, why haven't we used a virtual tool? And maybe lean into some of these offices in the high 30s and 40s to say, hey, you guys are being really consistent. How do we, share those best practices with others? But then I can go across and I can see % of each virtual tool. So if I want to say, who's killing it with Approve Online? So I can see some offices in the high 20s and 30s with Approve Online. Maybe I spend a little time learning what they're doing to share with the rest of my team. You see up here, I'm already doing pretty well with MyBlock and Approve Online. So maybe I want to say, hey, my team's really struggling with video call. So who's rocking it with video call? Well, right now I can see I only have one office with a 13% use and another office with 2. No one else has used a video call. So this tells me as a leader, I have work to do to help create more of a comfort level with my team with video call. And again, I can filter it up here and go by tax pros. So maybe I want to recognize tax pros who've already used a specific tool, or help an office leader identify who in their office they want to spend some time with. So that's how I use the lead measure report. And I'm gonna come up for air. So are there any questions around lead measures or how that can be helpful or useful for you or your office leaders? Oh, you're on mute, Brian.
Thank you. I'm going to throw out one quick question. Does anyone know in DSA where we can pull the surveys for Tax Pro review quickly? I know I can do it in Medallia, but it would be nice. I might be missing it in DSA. Does anyone know? It'd be a great ad for them because, as we all know, how important it is to stay above 80% with that. It's very, very important to our client growth. So that'll be one we can check into and see if they can get that for us in there.
So Brian, what are you trying to look at specifically? What would you like to see?
So, we see in lead measures how to break it down by tax pro for service quality, but it may be there and I'm missing it. I don't see where we can break it down by the tax pro review surveys.
Oh, no, yeah. The only way I know of to do is to go into Medallia and then go over to the tax pro review section, and then I could filter it by tax pro to kind of see it that way.
Yeah. I was saying it'd be nice if they could pull that over for us to be real quick. Cool. So, hey, we've been talking a ton. What other things would you like to see? Any tips in our last little bit of time here? And don't hesitate to reach out if there's other reports that you would like us to dive into. We can help or if we can't help, there's somebody on the line that can help.
Yeah. Anything you guys have been trying to find in the hub? I would love to know. You could throw it in the chat. Who learned something new from this call? Was there a piece of the hub or the reporting that was a new discovery or a find today with this time? And most importantly, was this helpful? Because we know that based on some of the survey feedback, we had some questions around the hub and where to use and navigate. So Marnie, I see that the small business stuff was helpful for you. Good, I'm glad.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, and when Tyler sends out those surveys, please fill them out because we're looking at them and really trying to set up the support, because that's what this, I mean, it's everybody's call. It's a support call. So we definitely want to focus on what's out there with, hey, I would like to see more of this.
Okay, good. So I'm seeing some good things. Scott said he learned how to drill down to the small business and drill down by Tax Pro now to get stuff. So that's great. Maria, the target monitoring, couldn't agree more. It's going to make your leaders' lives so much easier. Lisa says the WIP by office and lead measures. Yep, totally. You're welcome. Phil says, can you share where we can get a list of holds by client name? I have not seen something like that specifically in the hub. The only way you're going to be able to get holds by clients right now would be to go into Work Center and then go to that specific office and be able to go through the holds to see who you have on hold by name. But what
so Kyle, I'm sorry, not Kyle, I'm sorry. Real quick, specifically, you know, when we do step one, take stock, Derek, and you know, last year we could print something from Work Center. I don't see that this year. So is there a way, and is it in the hub or something where we can print it out?
I'm not aware of something in the hub unless somebody knows. Brian, are you aware? Because I'm not. I see a few people in the chat throwing that Fin Bookkeeping. You can go in there and you could filter to get names. Phil, one thing I'm challenging my team on a little differently this year is I've asked my team to kind of walk away from the printing of the holds. And the reason I'm asking them to do that this year is when I think about trust and support, I want my leader, like one thing some of my leaders have been guilty of doing in the past is printing out that report, going desk by desk and asking everybody to give them an update on their holds. And then what are you doing to get this cleared? And I have found, and I think we could probably all agree, that when we lead it that way, people don't want to start returns until they have everything so they can get it paid. Or you know, they don't start returns, and it becomes more of a negative connotation around, you know, Work Center. And how I'm leading it this way, which I have found to be more helpful, is telling my team, hey, we're gonna, when you, first of all, starting a return is not a bad thing. You're never gonna get in trouble for having holds. All I ask is that you tell me why it's on hold. So that way, either myself as the office leader or one of the CSPs, we can get on the phone and call this client and get the documents for you. And when I position it that way, because I think we can all agree, we are so understaffed on Tax Pros right now. Unless you're in a beautiful bubble, which I commend you if you are fully staffed, I am not fully staffed. And I don't have the capacity. My Tax Pros will only have enough capacity to complete the return and do what is right in front of them. So I've got to lean on my ATLs, my CSPs, and my MTLs to contact these clients and get the missing documents. Contact the client and send them a link to upload what's remaining. Contact the client and say, hey, your return is done. Do you want to come in and pay? Or better yet, we can flip this to you to sign and pay online. Like really leaning in them to lead that conversation to clear holds. And I find that if they use the Work Center, using the Tax Pro action function for the office leader to ask for help from their Tax Pro, and the Tax Pro asks for help from their leader, and we're getting those notes that we need, it's kind of reduced the need for me personally to have to quote unquote take stock with that piece of paper, because I can take stock virtually with everything that's listed there on my hold. So I'm just sharing that from my own personal experience, you know, if that helps any of you or not, but I just wanted to share that.
Yep. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm learning to take stock differently, Phil, this year. And I'm learning too, like one of my things I'm leading my team through is I don't want physical copies of any documents in our offices this season. My team is, everything gets set up through the MyBlock, or we're scanning those documents in and we're having just virtual copies of hold. So really, future state, the only way I can take stock is in Work Center, looking at those hold notes and seeing the documents in the client's profile. So, but it's good. Cool. What else, guys?
Well, I know a lot of people probably, I know have an 11 that I'm gonna have to jump, but
yep.
I you know, thanks for everyone joining, and keep sending in the ideas, and really will help everyone.